Alright, hey everybody. In this video we're going to be talking about the properties of equality and how it pertains to solving equations like this one and manipulating statements. Alright, so let's start with the addition property of equality. The addition property of equality says that if you start with a true statement like this one, 3 equals 3, 3 equals 3 is a true statement. If you start with a true statement, addition property of equality says that you can add a number to both sides of this equation and the equation will stay true. So pick any number you want. I don't know, we could add 100, right? 100 to both sides of this equation. And 3 plus 100 is 103. And this is equal to 103. And we get a true statement back. So as long as you're adding the same number to both sides of the equation, we end up with a true statement. You could also see that if we added a different number to both sides of the equation, we would turn a true statement into a false one, and that's generally what we don't want to do. Subtraction property of equality works the same way. It says if you can subtract the same number from both sides of an equation, the statement will remain true. 5 equals 5 is a true statement. You can subtract a number like 7 from both sides, and what you'll get is negative 2 is equal to negative 2. Still a true statement. And the multiplication and division properties of equality work just the same way as the addition and subtraction ones do. Multiplication property says you can multiply both sides by the same number and the statement will stay true. So for example, if we multiply both sides of this equation by 2, then we get the new statement 12 equals 12, still true. And finally, division property of equality says you can divide both sides of this equation by the same number and the statement will remain true. So for example, we could divide both sides by 4. And what would happen is we would get 1 equals 1. Still a true statement. Okay? So these properties of equality are how we maintain the truth of a statement that starts out true. So for example, over here, here's an equation. Let's assume that we're starting with a true statement here. 2 times the number is equal to 10, right? Well, think about this for a second. If you have a number and you multiply it by 2, and then you divide it by 2, then you get back the same number that you started with. And that's exactly what we're looking for when we're solving. We're trying to find the value of this variable. What could this number be, right? Well, whatever this number was, it was multiplied by 2. So if we take it and then divide it by 2, then we should get back the number that we started with. And this is the usefulness of properties of equality. So we'll take this doubled number and have it, we're going to get the number that we started with. We're going to get x equals the number that we want, right? We get our solution, x equals 5, right? But think about this second example. Here we have a number that we added 3 to it. Well, if you want to find out what the number is, and you added 3 to it, then why don't we just subtract 3 from it? Because then you'll get the number that you started with. A number plus 3 minus 3 is the number that you started with. So if we subtract 3 here, we'll get the number that we started with. And the subtraction property of equality says if you do it to the left side, and you do it to the right side, then the statement stays true. So this is how we get our solution of x equals 4. And this is how the properties of equality are used to manipulate not only one-step equations, but even the more complicated multi-step equations that we'll see later on.